my name is Mikayla Miller, and I'm going to tell you a story on something that happened to me 2 years ago. So my dad and I decided to take a trip down to Oklahoma, and it was a 16-hour car drive there and back. And on the way back, I was so tired, all I remember thinking was, I want to be in my bed. And since it was a 16-hour drive, as we hit La Crosse, I'm like, ooh, yes, I'm about to be home, gonna be all covered up in my blankets and everything. And I was more thinking of just being home rather than being in the car. So my mind was drifting, and I was driving, and my dad was sleeping in the passenger seat. The roads looked a little wet, and so I thought, oh, it probably must have just rained before we just entered the city. But no, turns out black ice was covered all over the highway, but I had no idea. Now, the car ended up hitting a little divot on the road as we were getting off the bridge, and the car ended up sliding into the median, crashing head on, turned around, and then went in the ditch on the right side of the highway. I was quiet. I didn't know what to think. I was like, wow. I just got my license about 3 weeks before, and I wanted to prove to my dad that I am a good driver. And that might not seem like a big thing, but for me, it was the world. And so, for me to be the one to drive, and for me to have the car totaled, I felt as if it was all my fault. I said sorry millions of times, and my dad said it was okay, that it was no big deal whatsoever, but I still, somewhere deep inside, felt so bad and so guilty for everything. I then ended up getting my own car months later, and I remember the first time I got my own car, I ended up going for a little joyride out with my best friend. As we're in the middle of nowhere, it was sunset, and I look up and the sky was pretty red, orange. The clouds were so comfy, it looked like all you wanted to do is just lay on one of them. But as I was staring up into the sky, all I could think about was that night that we hit the median and ended up in the ditch. It was something so scary. And so I swore to myself right then and there, in my new car, I will never drive on the highway at night anymore. I cannot. I will always take the detour. Now, actually, last week sometime, I was meeting up with some friends, and after everyone said their goodbyes, I was on my way home. Now, I didn't know where I was at the time, so I put it in my GPS, and I tried to find a detour that would make me not take the highways. Because all that night at work, everyone was telling me to drive safe, be careful, it's slippery outside. So my eyes were peeled, and I was so nervous. But my phone only told me that I only had one way to get home, and that was the highway. And I started shaking. Every part of my body started shaking. My legs were shaking as I was touching the gas pedal, and it was something so scary. I ended up taking 3 deep breaths, and I told myself, I can do this. I can. Now, I ended up praying as well. I prayed to God, please get me home safely. Please make sure that I am home safe and return to my family and that I have no accidents whatsoever, because it's not happening again, no 2.0. And so, as I'm on the highway, I feel a presence with me as I'm just driving. My hands are shaking, and I didn't know what came over me, but something in my head told me that I could do this, and I did not have to worry. I was going 65 in a 70. I was so nervous. I was going slow under the speed limit. Cars were passing me. As they were passing me, I was thinking to myself, what on earth are they doing? They are gonna get hurt. They're gonna be in the accident. But then I thought, no, I don't worry about them. Worry about myself right now and me getting home. Ended up making it home safely, thank God, seriously. And it was all because of the voice I heard in my head that told me that everything was gonna be okay. As I get home, I lay down in my bed and I cover up in my blankets, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, wow, that was redemption for last time. I finally proved to people that I can do this, mostly proved to myself that I could do this. And it was all because of his voice in my head telling me that everything was okay. And everything was. Thank you.